Welcome to the Your Next Move podcast. Today, we are going to talk about recruiting. I know I've done a lot of content on networking, on the importance of professional associations. However, when you attend these professional association events, when you attend these conferences, I know you are spending a pretty penny. It is imperative that you are able to maximize this experience to get the outcome that you desire. And for many folks attending professional conferences, you desire to be recruited. You desire to leave with a job offer in hand. So today, I have 3 steps that I want to share with you on how to make sure you are getting the most out of these conference experiences. I am someone who has loved going to conferences throughout the span of my career, whether they're large-scale conferences, small-scale conferences. I'm also a former president of a New York State Education Association that work with people in career services. So I've planned the conferences, I've been at the conferences, I've spoke at the conferences, and I've personally also been recruited at some of the conferences. So I want to make sure you have the steps in order to do the same. So number 1, all starts with preparation before the conference. If you know you are looking to get recruited at the conference, it is important that you know the companies that are attending so that you can arrive prepared. There is no reason on this day and age with your registration ticket, the conference website, the emails, before you're in town, make sure that you have dusted off your resume, you've updated your LinkedIn profile, and you rehearse that elevator pitch. While you'll have the opportunity to connect with employers at the booth, there may be recruiting and networking events that are happening in the evening, informal and formal opportunities, and you want to be prepared. Some companies may have roles open and available, while others may be collecting resumes for future use. Regardless of the situation, ensure that you make a connection with someone at the booth or at that company to follow up. Also, this is not the time to walk away not remembering someone's name or not having their email address. If they don't share their business cards, connect on LinkedIn and thank them for speaking with you and reiterate your interest in the company. Next up, so if we know you're looking to get recruited, you're prepared before you get there. So your resume is ready, your LinkedIn is great, you're excited to have these conversations, and you know how to answer that quick question of tell me about yourself or why are you interested in working with ABC company? The next thing you need to do is start prioritizing the companies that you're most interested in. When I've been at conferences, I've seen conferences that have maybe 5 companies, and I've seen conferences that have hundreds who show up just to recruit. There can be so many that you'll generally have a full list on the conference website. But before walking into the convention center or the hotel ballroom, make a list of who you are most excited about. I recommend treating this like a college fair. If you remember the days in high school when you went to the college fair and all the colleges were there in alphabetical order, remember which ones you want to apply to. So you may have a list of safety places where, you know what, if you really need a job, you would work there. You'll have some places where you're like, I'm kind of interested. And then you'll have some places where if they gave you a job today, you would run, accept, sign on the dotted line. You want to make sure you have this list in the same way we did when we were talking about college lists and applying to college. Your REACH companies would be considered your tier 1 or dream companies that you may feel are just a little bit out of your reach, but if given the opportunity, you'd be able to rise to the occasion. Your target companies, we're going to call those your tier 2. These are the ones that are perfectly aligned with your skills, your interests, and your experiences. You'd be very excited to accept a role at one of these companies. And last but not least are the safety companies. This is tier 3, where you may not know as much about the company, but you're interested in learning more and potentially pursuing an opportunity there. Use this list as your compass when you're deciding between competing events, competing companies, and managing your time at the conference. There are some conferences where that big ballroom is where you'll spend the entire day going from company to company in between workshops. There are other conferences where it's really important that you get on the list and talk to the company so you can attend their happy hour or their breakfast meeting. It's important to understand the type of conference that you're at and where the recruiting will happen. Last but not least, it's time to connect, network, and follow up. The connections that you make are one of the most important parts of the experience. Make sure you download the conference app or whatever they're using to communicate with attendees and start speaking with everyone before and after the conference. If you come to the conference and hang out with people you already know, you're missing out. You know the people, you came with them. We need you to hang out with new people and make sure that you're mingling and mixing and making connections that may lead to future opportunities. Of course, it's important to have your elevator pitch ready to go, but don't be afraid to prepare a few additional questions. I have a few favorites that I want to share with you. Things like, what made you decide to come to the conference this year? What kind of projects are you working on? How did you get into your industry or company? What makes your company stand out amongst the other companies here? What types of skills do you feel are the most important for someone to do your type of work? So again, the 3 things I want you to do when you're ready to go into a conference to maximize your experience to get recruited are 1, prepare yourself. Resume, LinkedIn profile. If you're using business cards, I know a lot of people don't now, so don't feel like if you don't have them, it's an issue. You don't have to have business cards, but be prepared to connect and explain who you are and what you do. Number 2, have your list of companies. Who do you want to work for? What are your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 companies that you're going to prioritize having conversations with? And last but not least, connect, network, and follow up. I know you paid some money for this ticket, so make sure that you are maximizing all of the connections that are made. And the last thing I'll say is that there are so many different types of conferences. Every company has a different recruitment strategy. During my time working at a Fortune 100 company in financial services, I helped plan the activations for my company and for other companies and how they show up to excel at these events. Some companies are going to make sure that they talk with you at the conference. They will interview at that conference. They'll even video chat other folks who aren't there so they can give you an offer before the conference ends. Other companies are just collecting your resume and are going to have follow-up conversations maybe in a month, 2 months, 6 months. They're really building a pipeline of talent. It's important that you know what the goal is of the company when you're there so you can realistically set your expectations. It's really disheartening if you're going into the conference and you think you're going to get a job and you talk to the booth and you don't ask those questions. And you're like, well, I know they're going to call me right away. It's like, no. They're here for pipeline. That's what we call it in talent acquisition, just building your pipeline of talent that you can use later versus a company that is looking to hire on the spot. In many of these conferences, they may also have interviews. Companies will actually rent interview booth spaces or talk to you in a local coffee shop to do your interview. So be prepared to have deeper discussions when you're at these conferences because some companies are going to give you an offer letter before you leave. And you want to make sure that you're ready to maximize that experience depending upon what your goals are as well. So whether you're looking for a role at a major corporation or an up-and-coming startup, make sure you are maximizing your time and your investment when attending these events. The connections you make at these conferences, you never know how they're going to help you in your career. So with that, may your next move be your very best move.